Those exemplars recognized today each had a story to tell. A story that illustrated how a business made a difference in shaping the life of a student. And no one tells a story better than our keynote speaker. He is a proud District 203 parent of 7 children, and we are really excited to have him here today to tell a few of his favorite stories. A few things about Joe. Joe McCormick is on a mission to help organizations master the art of the short story. In an age of shrinking attention spans, nonstop interruptions, floods of information, the messages business leaders send out and are getting are lost in a sea of words. An experienced marketing executive, a successful entrepreneur and author, Joe is recognized for his work in narrative messaging and corporate storytelling. His new book, Brief, Make a Bigger Impact by Saying Less, tackles the timelessness of the less is more mandate, which actually was given to me before I took the stage this morning. Joe founded and serves as the managing director and president of the Sheffield Marketing Company, an award-winning boutique agency that specializes in narrative message development and visual storytelling production. He is a passionate leader. Joe started the Brief Lab as a subsidiary of Sheffield in 2013 after years dedicated to developing and delivering a unique curriculum on strategic narratives for the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He actively counsels military leaders and senior executives on key messaging and strategic initiatives. His clients include W.W. Granger, Harley-Davidson, USG Corporation, BMO Harris Bank, SAP, MasterCards, and Jones Lang LaSalle. Joe speaks at diverse industry and client forums on the topics of messaging, storytelling, change, and leadership, and we are so lucky to have him here with us today. Please give a warm District 203 welcome to this District 203 parent and the author of Brief, Mr. Joe McCormick.
I'm going to hold the mic in my hand because stooping for 15 minutes isn't going to work for anybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. I want to share with you a brief anecdote. So Julie and I met a few years ago, and I mentioned to her my passion for interns and internships. And it stuck in her mind because a few months ago she calls me and she says, "I got a favor to ask. We're doing this event and I'd like to talk about internships." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a brief presentation about my perspective on internships and where we all fit into this important thing. And I think most of it's already been said because Dan and the people that have been honored, you're already living that that promise to our young talent. So really the point for today is I call it a brief break, is giving people a chance, young talent a chance. Giving people a break, and I'm going to share with you my journey to where I'm at right now, and then maybe some things for you to think about as business leaders when it comes to internships and giving people the experience that they need to develop. So just a little bit on me. So as Julie mentioned, I'm a parent, District 203 parent. I have graduated already 3 kids from Naperville Central High School. I've got 2 in Naperville Central right now, and the list gets long. I've lived in Naperville for 18 years. I love living here. It is just an amazing community because the opportunities they give all the kids here is just unbelievable. I can go on and on. I started a company 9 years ago called Sheffield, and it's named after the street that I lived on in Naperville, Sheffield Road, down on the south side of Naperville, near Scott School. And last year I wrote a book called Brief, and it's about being a lean communicator and all that fits in. More on that later. So what I'd like to do is just walk you through some of my perspectives on this, and you may share the same things. Is when I started to think about like internships, I think there's irony. I love irony. And the irony is you have to have experience to get experience. So when I was in high school, when I was in college, and I was thinking about getting experience, the first thing I would see is 3 to 5. You need 3 to 5 years experience. And I'm like, I don't have any experience. And I'm stuck. And unless you knew somebody, grew up in Chicago who worked for the city and you had some family connections, you're sort of on the way out, right? So you're caught in this conundrum of how to break that deadlock. You have to have experience to get experience, but I want to get experience, but you need experience. And it's this vicious cycle that needs to be broken, and I think that business leaders need to break that cycle. Somebody's got to break it. Because if you don't, most of the people are sort of on the outside looking in, and you have maybe years to sort of fix that problem. So I'm going to share with you just some insights that I've had over the years. The first insight is the role of a mentor. A person that you can meet in your career, in this journey, that can really give you your break. And for me, it happened when I was in college. A friend of my father's was a business owner, inspired me in many ways about the life of an entrepreneur, starting a business. And I'll never forget it. So he had an office in the Loop, downtown Chicago. And my father encouraged me, talk to Ben. He started a business. He can give you some guidance about what you can do in your career. So I went down. I was studying at Loyola. I went downtown and I met with him. I wasn't interviewing. I was just looking for some guidance. And he said, he's a guy that can give you some guidance. So I went and saw him. And he and I met periodically, and he would share with me his perspective of how he bought this company and how he was hiring people and budgets. And I was 19 years old or 20 years old, and we'd have these meetings for a half hour. And we did this periodically, and he was giving me a lot of really good advice, and we became friends. I said, right. So one day, Ben said, well, you're going to have to start doing interviews at some point, and trying to land your first internship. But he, as a mentor, gave you that push, like you've got to go this way. So he asked me a question, which is kind of an odd question. He says, do you own an overcoat? I'm 19 years old, I'm thinking, do I own an overcoat? No, I don't have an overcoat. He literally gives me the coat, his raincoat, off of his back. He years later, I got him to confess to me lied. He says, no, I just bought a brand new coat. Take this one. You'll need it when you go on an interview. So that mentorship, that moment for him, that he gave me literally the coat off his back so I can go on an interview and not look like, I just got out of the rain, was a little thing, but it was a huge thing for me because it stuck with me. It's a guy that owns a business who cared enough to give me the coat off his back. So off I went on my first interview. So here's my first interview. So I'm sophomore, junior in college at Loyola. I'm studying English literature, which later I discovered makes you eminently unhireable. History, political science, literature, you're eminently unhireable. At the time I thought it was great, Chaucer, Shakespeare, little did I know. So I go downtown, and I find this big agency downtown, Hill and Knowlton, and I landed an interview, and it was going fine, and then they basically said to me, we don't have any internships. This is a really prestigious agency, and really, we'll give you some advice, but you can't get in. I mean, anything we can do to help, but really, good luck. And because I was talking to my mentor, I said, I'll work for free. I'll work for free. I mean, just let me get in here. And they looked at me like, you'll work for free? And I don't know why, what overcame me, but I'm like, I know I need experience, because my mentor told me I needed experience, and you got to get experience, right? You need experience to get experience, so I said I'll work for free. And I went in there, and they said, sure. So I started working on like the Sears account and the United Airlines account. I got some really, really great exposure. But I actually lost them. Because I had to take the train, but I had to buy lunch, and I think I netted like negative a couple $100 at the end of the summer. But I got some really great experience, and it really left a big imprint on me as a person, because that experience for me was like, all right, I got to get my feet wet, and the only way to get my feet wet is just to take the dive. And they didn't have an internship program or anyway, and so I just got in the back door. So fast forward from my time I graduated from college with a little bit of experience, 10 years later. I struggled because those internships, those experiences, we were just talking at breakfast, for a young person, those internships they build on each other. They give you a unique perspective about, this is the career that I want to pursue. I want to go into the legal field. I want to be a chemist. I want to be, whatever. And for me, I had some, but I didn't have nearly enough. So early in my career, I struggled until finally I got my break. So what happened? I came to this conclusion that nobody cares. Now, I found out here this morning that there are some people that care, but in general, the business people that I was around, when it came to young people, they didn't really care. And it was kind of like a I was working at a large agency, and then I started getting interns coming to me. I would get the, can you talk to my nephew or my neighbor's son? And they would send people to me because I was senior vice president at this agency. And my first thing out of my mouth that I would tell them is, nobody cares. You're going to have an uphill battle getting this experience because nobody cares. Good luck finding somebody that cares about giving you this experience, because once you get out of college, you're kind of on your own. And they would look at me like, no, that can't be true. I'm like, it's true. Nobody cares nearly as much as you do about getting a job. So I made it my choice to care. I met a lot of young people, and I said, nobody cares about you, but I'm going to give you experience, I'm going to give you advice. If I can hire you, I will. I'm going to treat you like an adult even though you don't have any experience. I'm going to be demanding. And I just made it was like a moment for me to say, I don't want that to happen to them because it happened to me. I didn't have that kind of experience. So it was a wake-up call for me, so that when I started my company, I decided to do something completely different, which is to give them a break. And that's what I did. So I just call this like, there is a payoff for me as a business leader to hire interns. I've hired almost 24 interns in 9 years. I've hired designers, I've hired writers, I've hired account people, and I put them in for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, even like 6-month apprenticeship programs. And my standard line when I interview them is, you might be stuffing envelopes and licking stamps, but that's not why I hired you. So I treat them 5 years ahead of where they are in their career. And they're all like, you're asking me to do these things, and I put them on client calls, and I have them do reports, and I expect them to, and that had benefited me. I gave them the chance, the break, and they delivered. I hired a young guy who went to Naperville Central, ended up going to business school at Indiana, and really bright kid, like from Central, really bright kid, and named Mark, and I would sit down with him, and I was really demanding on him, And I said, you got to deliver this, and I need this, because it was my business. I wasn't just sort of keeping him busy in the back room. I mean, I'm running a business. I got clients. I got a family. I've got things that I need to do, and I'm bringing them in to contribute. And I was really demanding on him. And he ended up going to Kelley School of Business, and now he's a successful consultant now. So philosophically, for me, it was like, I have to mind my own business, but I can help them too. So those things are not, in my opinion, they're not mutually exclusive. Those things can coexist. So what's the impact for me? So I show a picture of Pinehurst. Why am I showing a picture of Pinehurst? Well, I opened an office in Pinehurst, North Carolina. I teach U.S. Special Operations at Fort Bragg. And why do I have an office there? Well, I had the opportunity to write this book, and here's my story. So when I was teaching the guys in Special Operations how to use narratives to communicate more effectively, I ended up in a little bit of a fix, because they were asking me, you got to write a book, and I'm like, I don't want to write a book. They're like, you got to write a book, and I'm like, we need more training. We need you to help us more. So write a book, and I finally conceded, and I pitched the idea of this book to Wiley a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And almost immediately I got a response like, we want to put you under contract. And it was one of these moments like, I got a contract, and then went to like a quarter, like, I've got to write a book. So if you want to think about writing a book, I'll talk you out of it. I describe it as like the longest college term paper times 10. So I'm negotiating with Wiley. I'm like, it's a book on brevity. Can't it be 100 pages? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, so I keep on, So I'm writing this book, and it's, there's deadlines, and there's, you got to give your publisher, and you're under contract here. So, again, philosophically, I believe in talent, young talent, giving them a chance. So I hired this woman from Notre Dame named Megan, and she's classmates with my daughter, Monica, Notre Dame. I actually saw her on graduation day. She pulled me aside. So a year before her graduation, I hired her for the summer as my editor. She's 21 years old. I got to write this book, and it's due. I mean, it's like, there's a lot on the line. There's a lot of pressure. And I bring Megan in, and she's my editor. And she just nailed it. She came in the first day and she started editing, and it was just, within the first 2 days, she starts editing the manuscript. It's this thick manuscript. And I get the manuscript back one day, I'll never forget this, and she takes out the first sentence of the book. First sentence of the book, you took out, Megan, got a minute? Got the first sentence of the book. This is what she says. She said, in all seriousness, she says, well, Joe, if I read the book after the first sentence, I might want to put it down. Really talented person. There's a lot of talent out there, so she immediately contributed. And I took off the reins, I just let her run. I mean, and she's in the acknowledgments of the book, and when I saw her graduation a year later, you know, she came up to me and I gave her a big hug because she was a huge contributor. And I've had that experience over the years where young people can contribute like that in the things that you've seen at Toyota and the other people that have been acknowledged this morning are just testament to that. So I'm just reminding you what you already know. So what now? 3 things. I'd recommend you read the book, not because I'm trying to sell books, but there's a part of the book as mentors for people that are trying to get experience that talks about the importance of the interview. Job interviews. What happens in job interviews is you can do everything right, and in that moment, just do it. Because you can't get to the point. You can't tell a little bit about yourself, you can't frame your experiences, you can't tell a story. So there's a very important part of the book about how to be really clear and concise in a job interview. And I think that's one of the biggest things you can do to help people is how to manage that moment, because it, for most people, is terrifying. The second thing I'd like you to do is just revisit where does this young talent fit into the picture for you? And you might think it's sort of doing things, but as we've seen this morning, these are experiences you get that can be really hugely impactful for them and for you. And we've heard that. And the last thing is just remember that if not you, who? You know, my mentor was my mentor, and he gave me a push to get me started. And I've tried to do that for other people, but if not you, who's going to do this for people? And on that, I want to end on a kind of a funny note, if I can, and then we'll let you go. So this is a scene from a movie, The Internship. So this is really Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson sharing their perspective on how to do an interview via Skype.
Hi, I'm Vince, and this is Owen, and we're going to share with you a scene from our new movie, The Internship. Oh, and this is the interview scene.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Okay, bring it in closer.
Get in closer. Yeah. We are interviewing for internships at Google, in a Google Hangout. We are not used to this, but here, go ahead and watch.
Watch it. There's a lot riding on this.
This is how people do it now, Mickey. They have their interviews on the internet.
I like it. I know.
Okay, here they are. Now, when I hit this, they'll be able to see it. So come on and get in there close so we can be seen in the webcam. See how small the webcam is? No, get your cheeks. Nick, come here.
Don't crowd me.
We can see you guys. Okay, good.
You got it?
Hi, my name is Billy.
We can hear you fine as well.
Oh, great.
Good.
Billy McMahon.
Nick Campbell.
I'm Benjamin.
Allison, we're going to ask you a few questions that some of our candidates find a little bit odd.
Let's go.
No judgment. Shoot.
You're shrunken down to the size of nickels and dropped to the bottom of a blender. What do?
You take your flat on your back like this.
Just lay back and enjoy that breeze. Pretend it's a fan.
And let the blades roll around like this.
Once this blender's on, it's on forever.
It's on.
Respectfully, I gotta disagree. We sold blenders, and even the best model in the world is only gonna run maybe 10 or 11 hours. So we're getting out, and when we do, we're better off for it, because whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
It's not so much getting out of the blender, it's what happens next. That's the question.
You've got 2 nickel-sized men free in the world. Think of the possibilities.
I mean, on top of my head, I'm just looking
They're
over here.
swimming.
Sunglass repair? We can hell on those little screws.
Maybe stick us in those submarines that they put in people's bodies to fight diseases.
That's not a real thing, the submarines.
No.
Wait a minute. I thought we were stuck in a blender. Now we're saving lives? What?
What?
Let me just recap this story real quick. We started off in a blender.
Yeah.
Now we're saving lives.
What?
What?
Wait a minute. We were stuck in a blender, and now we're saving lives?
What has led us to this? Thank you.
So on that note, thank you very much for asking the comment, and I'm available for any questions you get afterwards.